for probably rearranging some things to get me in here to connect.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's you and I this afternoon. Just me and Miss Shania, right?
It's Shayna.
Oh, Shayna. Okay. Okay, good. All right, let's get it. Okay, okay. It's your brother EB, Success After Lockdown. Today, I would like to introduce you to a sister that, I connected through LinkedIn. I seen her bio, and I was very interested in her. Um, Shania Clancy, Shania,
Shayna.
Shayna. Oh man, I'm gonna get this right sooner or
All right.
later.
Just don't call me late for
Sorry for
dinner.
chopping you up. Absolutely. So she's our number one best-selling author, Queen of Success, Empowerment Coach, Pittsburgh 50 finest, Leadership Butler County graduate, Duke from the last decade, and BC3 distinguished alumni. Yes, so listen, it's a pleasure, honor, to have you on Success After Lockdown today. Um, Listen, we just want to definitely at least applaud you. First, applaud you with just being who you are and going through the journey that you went through. We would like our followers and family to just find out a little or a lot about Miss Clancy. So
Yes.
if we could start in from the beginning before we even go into your best-selling author and what you're doing now in life. Who is Miss Clancy? Where you come from? What how you grow up? One parent home, two parent home. How was life?
Yeah. So I grew up a little bit north of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm from the boonies, some people would call it, but that's where I grew up. I don't know my biological father. He was in the Navy. My mom got pregnant when she was 19 and raised me by herself until she married my dad, who I called my dad whenever I was 4. So I grew up in a two-parent household for the most part. My dad, he went through the foster care system, had mental health, concerns, substance use that I didn't even know about growing up. My mom shielded us from that. I'm the old. It wasn't till my mom and dad got divorced when I was around like 17, 18 that I kind of, you know, the scales peeled back, if you will, and I saw reality for what it was. We were middle low class income family. My dad owned his own painting company, but my mom stayed at home with us and raised us babies. So that was it. I decided I was going to go to school, and I'm a first generation college student. So I enrolled in the local community college because, right, I had no clue what I was doing. I was like, I want to go to college. And my parents were like, okay, cool, figure it out, figure the FAFSA out, and don't put us on it. So I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. I ended up going to nursing school. And that's when my life really took a turn for the worst, quite frankly. But the comeback story, and for me, the grace of God has been with me since I was released from prison in 2012.
Right. And congratulations on your release. Congratulations on you completing school. I look at it like, we have to go through these things in life to get where we at today.
Yes.
And that's, my primary objective here at Success After Lockdown, because I am formerly incarcerated after serving 27 years and 6 months incarcerated for taking a young man's life that didn't deserve to die. In my case, I was in the streets. I'm from the Bronx, New York, and looking back at that, I chose to move forward in life with just highlighting those men and women like yourself and myself successes, and us coming home, staying home, and making a difference. So that's very important, for me, is making a difference in the community, which makes a difference in society, in my book. And so,
100%,
um,
absolutely.
absolutely. And so, if you know, if I could have you, um, I mean, without going into, you don't have to go too much into, that dip or that downfall that you said that low part of life that you went through. If you could share with us, some things about, yourself and what led you to that low point
Oh,
in
yeah,
life.
absolutely. And I don't want to give it all away because it's in this book. This is my testimony, my journey. But really, I was at a Pitt football game, University of Pittsburgh football game with my boyfriend at the
Right.
time. We were drinking pre-gaming, beforehand, and I knew I had
Absolutely.
to work like later that night. I was an EMT driver, so I was in emergency medical services while I was in nursing school. So I was like working 2.5 jobs, going to school full time. And I went to work that night after the first transport we had to a children's hospital. We had another call that came in, and on the way to the hospital, I got in a double fatal vehicle crash, and I was the driver solely responsible for that accident. And
Oh,
so I was under the influence. I was 0.067, and the state of Pennsylvania is 0.08, but emergency services, like it's zero. There's zero tolerance. And so
absolutely.
yeah, so I took two men's lives. They were in their 30s, and I just hated myself after that. I don't even know what, like the
Mm.
world just flipped and turned upside down. And I got, in a real dark space and took 2 weeks off nursing school. And my mom said something pretty powerful. She said, "You know what? You don't know what the future holds, but nobody can ever take your education from you." And that stuck.
Absolutely.
So I went back to school 2 weeks after the accident, juggling all the things, and graduated a few months before I was sentenced to 11 and a half, 23 months. And I chose to do all county. Had I known hindsight is 2020, I did it all in the county jail, the worst, one of the worst county jails.
Right.
Maybe I would have picked state. I don't know, but I also didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know I was going to be there for the full time, first time ever in trouble, and I maxed out.
Absolutely, but there's a reason for everything, and that I think that you going through and staying there at that county or wherever it was just your journey and who you are today as a person.
Yes.
If we could just start on that time in prison, that first day, if you remember, because um with myself, I was a known recidivism person. Like I was back and forth in prison when in my youth. I came out of the streets and you know, yeah, I adapted. I had to adapt very quickly. And so when I did receive 25 years to life after 3 years ago prior to doing just 12 months in prison, it was like a real culture shock for me. How was that feeling for you? Like just being in prison, and do you remember that time?
Oh, I
Um,
remember it was like the wild, wild west. It was nothing like I could even picture. The movies, it doesn't even do it justice. But county is
Absolutely.
just like you said, in and out, in and out. And I was literally considered like a mini lifer because who does 2 years in the county jail? Like that's
Yeah.
unheard of. So I saw a lot of people, same people in and out, in and out. But it was scary. It sucked, right? Like who wants their freedom taken away, and then let alone like knowing that you did that to yourself. Like that's the part that like gets you in the gut too. You're held
Absolutely.
accountable, right? Like you just stripped yourself of anything and everything. But I also was a high profile case, and so I had to do a lot of solitary confinement time. So that was like a
Right.
huge adjustment. They were like, I remember fighting to try to get to Gen Pop just because I was like, I need to like be around some people. Um, so that was, a struggle in of itself. But I mean, got along with the people. I still have some friends from when I was in there. that are doing good. Some, maybe still not, but just try to, be there for them. And, not everybody gets it the first time, the 20th time, 100th time. Just be there for people in the trenches is my motto.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what why when I'm listening to you now, and again it's nice to meet you,
You too.
definitely nice to speak with you. And hear your side of the story because everyone has their own story, you know what I mean? And I've interviewed and conversated with a lot of people such as yourself and myself formerly incarcerated, and there's so many different dynamics of why people are led into the criminal justice system. and and for me, like when you talked about the solitary confinement and you trying to get out, you know what I mean, and being there for 2 years. See, this is where I come in, where I believe this purpose thing that goes on in our life. There's a reason for everything, because I remember when I received 25 years to life and I first went up north, and I was still, in the gym, in the yard, running with the crowd. So prison can be worse than the streets,
Oh, for
and
sure.
absolutely, and that goes for everywhere. Even, and I'm from New York State, and when I was doing all of this running, I was also with a heavy load on me too, because I took someone's life. I left my son when he was 4 months old.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of things that was going on with me,
Yeah.
where I
But
had
you still
to,
had to keep the front on.
yeah, no question. At the same time, I was going through this, what I call a self introspection. So, and this was during the first 2 years of my incarceration. I went
Hmm.
through this self introspection. This self introspection had allowed me to make the choice, the decision to do what exactly was done to you, put myself in solitary confinement. I had to close that gate
Yeah.
every time they call yard or gym, because I wanted to get into myself and I wanted to be different. I didn't want to continue to stay the same. I didn't want to continue to stay this person that was a follower, that was following this crew, this group.